Hi everybody, this is Tor Storley and I am back with another video. It's been a while, I know, but I'm back and I want to do a video today, I thought, on how you can use Python to download for offline use and viewing YouTube videos. And we will specifically look at how you set up a Python environment, a virtual environment. We will look at how we incorporate that virtual environment into Visual Studio Code so we can run our code in Visual Studio. Then we will look at the actual script and we'll step through the script, and in the script we'll do some logging. We'll also see two different methods you can use to download these videos. One, individual videos, and the other method by simply providing one video within a playlist, and it will go ahead and download all the videos in that playlist. So kick back and let's get started. So the first thing we want to do, we want to set up our Python environment. And in order to do that, you can do it in a couple of ways. I'll show you one way you can do it, and then you can see if this suits you or if you have to go and figure out a different way of doing it. But you can go to the Anaconda download, but in this case, I went to something called Miniconda. And Miniconda is a smaller footprint than Anaconda installation. So what I did was I navigated to this page, and you can see installing on Windows, Mac, and Linux. The one I chose was this one. And I simply downloaded it into my download folder, and I simply installed it. I just went through the default options. And when it's done, it will put all the values into a folder. Let me see if I can find it. Miniconda. Most likely it will be under the users folder. And if I go into my users folder here, and I scroll down, you can see Miniconda. And inside Miniconda, it puts all these files, as you can see. So right now, I got a Miniconda install. So what we're interested in, under this NVS environments, in other words, abbreviated, we want to create a environment that we can put our Python download packages and so forth into. So the next thing I want to do, I want to go and I want to navigate to this prompt that sits here. So after you install Miniconda, do a search and find the Anaconda PowerShell prompt, which is this one. And when you open it up, it opens up as a regular command window. I have upped up the font here so you can see it better. So under this base folder here, we want to create what is called a virtual environment. And what you can do is, because we're using Conda, you can write a couple of command line commands to get this going. So you can use what is called conda create and so forth. In case you wonder, how do you know what to put into these commands? Well, what we can do is we can navigate to what is called a conda cheat sheet. And as you can see here, just search for a conda cheat sheet and you'll get this. And it will tell you how to install packages, how to create an environment and so forth, list environment. So here you can see, here is the command that we're going to be running right here. So you can go here and get an idea of what it will look like. So I want to create a named environment called demo py, just for the sake of showing you this. I'm going to install Python version 3.10. So I'm going to hit enter. And it tells me these are the packages it's going to install. One of them, as you can see, is the Python here, 310.8, as you can see. So I'm going to say yes. I'm going to let that run. And it runs through. As you can see, it's done. And it gives us a couple of commands here, as you can see. To activate our newly generated virtual environment, you type this conda activate and then the name of the environment. To deactivate it, to go back to the base directory, if you will, I'm not sure what to call it, you use conda deactivate. So let's use this conda activate demo py. And now you can see it has the demo py in front there instead of base. So now you're inside the right virtual environment. Inside this environment, what we want to do, we want to install that one package we're going to need, which is called PyTube. So I'm going to use, instead of Conda, you can probably use Conda, but I'm going to use good old pip. Because as you can see up here, you still have access to the pip install. So I'm going to call pip install pytube. So I'm going to run that, and it's going to go ahead and try to find all the stuff it's going to need. And as you can see, it's done. So let's clear this. Control L on my Windows machine, and I'm going to say Conda list, so I can see all the packages in this virtual environment. And here you can see there is pytube right there, and here's the Python and so forth. So if you need to install more than one packages in this environment, simply list it like this: pytube space and the next package name space next package name and so forth. And that's how you can install more packages into this virtual environment. Now, this pytube that I'm gonna stop it from running now. I'm gonna close this. If you look at the documentation for the pytube, you can see you can go to this pytube.io, and here you can see all the documentation, and it will give you code examples and stuff, how you can run this. For example, this is how you can install it and stuff. Or if you want to go to GitHub, you can clone it and so forth. So that's a place you need to go and get some more information about how to use this. So now you can go into the Miniconda thing here. And if you drill into your environments and you drill into demo py and you go to the lib folder, and down here somewhere there's something called site packages. When you open that, you can see here is your pytube folder that holds all the pytube package information you need that you just installed. So as you can see, you have your virtual environment here, and we're good to go. Now, as a side note, I already installed this in a slightly different environment, so that's the one I'll be using. So let me just show you that we can remove everything in case you do a mistake or you want to just get rid of it afterwards. You can also remove everything you've done here in this library. So let's say you went in and you activated your environment. So you did something like this initially, and you're in here now. But in order to get out of it, the first thing you want to do is you want to go back to base. And when you go back to base, you'll be deactivating this. So when you hit that, now you're back to base. And once you're in base now, it takes a few seconds here, but here you are. There is a command you can do that will remove your demo py environment and all the packages in it. So if you run this command, conda remove -n demo py --all, it will prompt you, it will remove all these packages. Okay, so I'm going to say yes, hit enter. So now it's done. Well, let's go and check and see if it actually is gone. So we'll navigate to our place here, and there's only one listed now, as you can see, and that's the one I'm going to be using for this demo. So the other one is gone. So anyways, I just wanted to touch base on that, and now we're ready to actually go into Visual Studio Code and hook up this virtual environment into Visual Studio Code. And I'll show you how to do that next. Let's open up Visual Studio Code. One way you can do it is you can open your Miniconda shell like this, code dot, and hit enter. Now it opens up like this. As you can see, it gives you the files that are in that location here showing up. That's not really where I want to be. So let me navigate to where I want to be. So I'm going to find open recent, and I want to go here. So this is where I keep my scripts in this particular folder here. And as you can see, I got 2 pages here. And when I look down on the bottom here, the Python has already been selected. So initially, you might have to go and do some installs. For example, you can go to extensions, which is this icon, search for Python, and you can install all these. However, I want to use my virtual environment. So in order to do that, what I need to do is I need to make sure I'm in my right virtual environment, because we installed that pytube package. Right now I'm sitting in base. By the way, in case you need to try to set your Python interpreter in Windows here, you use Control-Shift-P, and then you're getting this Python select interpreter. And then it will give you a list of whatever it can find. Right now it sits at base. If I try to run some code here, it's very simple. This test file here and a simple print statement will run in Python. I'm sitting down in base here, so let's try to run that. So I'm gonna hit the run button. And as you can see, it actually ran Python for me here. However, this is the file we're going to be running the YouTube script from. which is in that file, I should say. If I try to run this using the base, and if you look here now, you can see that it's complaining. It's giving me the squiggly marks. And one of the reasons is because it can't find Python, but it cannot find this particular package because it doesn't exist in this base library. Since I have this now, I can click on this, and then I can choose another one from here. Now, in case you want to set one of these virtual environments as your default, you can also go into File, Preferences, go to Settings, and then you open settings like this. This is the GUI version of the settings, which I find very cumbersome. But you could search for Python like this, and then you can do some edits here for Python. You can set up your Conda path. You can set the default interpreter. And I already set this. So you can either set it here, or you can click on this little icon up here and convert it into a JSON file. So when you look at it now, you can see there's that default interpreter path in JSON format. And here I'm pointing to where my environment is and where the Python exists. So that's the one I want to use. So you can either use this way, or you can go back and set it in the environment variables down here, right here. You can just type it in here. Okay, so that's about settings. And right now we're good to go. And we want to shift this environment to become this environment. And as soon as I do that, because that package exists, now the squiggly marks goes away. All right, so the next thing is we're going to be prepping and running this script. So I will step through the script first, and then we'll run it, and then I'll point out a few things to be aware of when you run this script. So now we're in the actual script itself that we want to cover. Let's just take a quick look at how this works. It's pretty straightforward. Okay, I entered some just basic information about the script here, as you can see. So this is just text or description, if you will. And then I have a few import statements. I'm going to import logging from the Python base libraries and the operating system, the OS. Also datetime, because I want to do some conversion on the return of video lengths. I'll show that a little later. I want to import the CSV library, so I can use it for importing CSV files. And from PyTube library, I'm going to import these two modules, YouTube and playlist. Then here, all I do is get the current directory using the OS library. And then I'm going to combine that current directory I'm in with this data folder and this file. So if you look at it, what I'm basically doing, I'm simply going into this data folder and I'm hooking up to this particular CSV file right here. So that's all I do. Then I'm doing an open file method here with a with statement. So I guarantee it will be closed when it's finished reading it. I'm passing in this file path. I'm for read only. And the encoding I want to use is UTF-8. So that file is in UTF-8 format. And then I just save it with alias F. So that's my file handle right there. Then I'm setting a variable data equal to a list comprehension. So I'm saying, and I want to load it into a tuple format. So I will have a link, a URL link, and I will also have whether it's a playlist or not. So that's what is going to be inside this tuple. So there's two elements. So I'm going to say for line, some variable, in, here is where I read in the CSV file, this handle from up here, and the delimiter is a comma separated. So here I'm generating a list basically. Then I'm going to remove the header from that list because I don't need that. There's not a file, there's not an actual URL. And then I'm introducing this logging here. And there's some basic config you can set for logging. There's all kinds of logging. You can do errors, warnings, etc. All I care about is some info because I want to basically loop through all the downloads I want to use. And I want to log them into a file so I can see exactly information about every download I did. The name, the length of the video, the title, etc. Description, so stuff like that. So the file name I want to put the log file into is this. And it's for writing. So the file mode is W. This is the path for the videos. When I'm downloading them and exporting them down, I want to put them in this folder. Then I'm just creating some basic variables that's going to hold some math calculations. In other words, it's like a repeater of this character symbol 125 times and a single dash 125. That's going to go into these variables, string variables. Here I create a list of videos and a list of playlists. And depending on what I'm passing in from that CSV file that I'm going to load, they will determine whether it's going to be a single video or a playlist video. So I'm just creating two lists, empty lists here. Then I do a for statement where I create some variable in the list of the data from above that I reloaded here, the tuples that has the URL and the yes or no based on whether it's a playlist. If I strip out whatever the string variable is in one of these tuples, and if it's equal to n, if it is, I'm going to load it into this list, the URL, which is in this tuple. And if not, I'm going to add it to the playlist list. So just so you have an idea, because it might get confusing with these tuples I'm talking about. If I go in and open up my scripts here, if I go to data, and I'm opening this, for example, you can see the file looks like this. So it has a link and a playlist. So it has a URL, and then it has a simple yes or no. So in this case, this particular video is a single video, because if it was part of a playlist, it would be a yes here. So that means I can add whatever number of URLs I want that I want to download. And depending what I'm putting in here, I can put one video from a playlist and it will download whatever number is in that playlist. So I'm loading these two different lists. So I have one of each type. Then I'm downloading all the individual videos where I'm using a for loop setting, and this is specific to the Py2 library. So you need to study up on what this means by going into the documentation. But you're creating this YouTube object, you're passing in this vid from the videos URL, and then you print it here so you can see the title. This is where you actually do the work. You create a stream, and I'm filtering it. Because one thing you can discover is you can try to set it to be best quality, and those are the only ones you want to bring down. But I had issues with that. It didn't download it. It was corrupted and was terrible. So I ended up setting the resolutions to 720 because the videos I'm trying to download, they technically could have a 1080p, but when I try that, it doesn't take it. It causes some issue. You can go to Stack Overflow and get some more information. But when I used 720 resolution, then it worked. So that's why I kept those here. I'm just downloading those, passing in the file path, and if there's an existing video, I'm skipping it. Here I'm using that datetime library I had above by creating a datetime time delta. And the reason I'm doing that is because the video length that comes back from YouTube is in seconds. So even if it's an hour 30 some seconds long, it would only be in seconds. So I want to convert it into a nice format. So I have hours, minutes, second. And by using this technique here, I can turn it in to passing in seconds. I can turn it into a nice format. So that's what I'm doing here. Then I do some more logging. I'm logging the title, the author, and the length in hours, minutes, and seconds using this format. And I'm passing in from the YouTube object, the author title, and that converted timestamp and the publishing date. For the download list, I have in two for loops because it has to find every video in it, and then I have to fix and log every stream for individual videos within that playlist. So that's what all this code is doing. Without getting too much into it, it does very similar things. I have this one file I was going to load. It only has a single link in it, and it's not a playlist. So let's run that first and see what it does, and then we'll run it with a playlist. So when it's done here, it's simply going to say, hey, we're done. Here is the current directory you put your videos into. All right, so we got it set to the right environment, and I'm just going to fire off this and see what happens. So as you can see, here is the title of that video I'm downloading, which is one of my videos. And now it says it's done. So I did this on purpose, a very small video, so it runs quick. So if I go back here now and I go into the videos folder, now you can see here is the video. So if I open this guy up, as you can see, it's running the actual video. Okay, so what I was saying was that if you look at the properties of this, you can see it's a 720 video. And it looks okay, so you can actually watch it. So let's get rid of that guy. And let's go and set up the other playlist because that has a little more data in it. So as you can see now, I have this video, which is the one we just downloaded. And then I have one video from this playlist and one video from this playlist. And this is just the individual URL I'm using. Same format, but I added some more here. So let's try to run it again, and this time we are going to include the playlist. Let's see what happens when I try to run it again. So again, I set my virtual environment to be this Tor Pi. Let's run it and see what happens. So as you can see, it's loading. It loaded the first one here, as you can see, and now it's doing the playlist, the first playlist, and now it's starting the second playlist. So I'm just going to pause it till it's done here. So as you can see, it's done. It tells me here that it's done, and here you can see part 1 through 5 of this particular playlist. There was one of the videos I listed was one of these, and I listed one of these videos. Part 1 or part 2, I can't remember which one I picked. But in both cases, you can see it downloaded all the videos in that playlist, and same with this one. And here is that individual video. So if we go to the folder, you can see here are the videos that we downloaded. Because I have this silly setup, but calling it from OneDrive here, which I shouldn't have done. It's trying to sync it here, so you can see they're still working on the syncing. So in any event, you can see it downloaded all the videos. And before I had it at 1080, I tried to run it with 1080, and that was not so good. So if I try, for example, to run one of those videos here, and I open it, it's a 720, but it's still okay. So that worked, and all of these seem to work. One more thing I did in that code, I did run the log file. So if you look at that log file, you can see this is what I called it. So if I open this now, and I look at it, you can see that here's that individual video I downloaded. And as you can see, it's nicely formatted now into a hour, minute, second kind of timestamp instead of just seconds. But because it's a logging, you can see, and I use info logging, you can see it will prefix all this stuff with this. So these are the lines that I repeated. I had this one character that I repeated 120 sometimes. So that's why you see these long lines here. And here you can see the title, you can see the author, you can see the length of the video here, and then the description. So it gives you a nice log as it goes through each video. And as you can see, I try to separate each video in this playlist. Here's part 1 and here's part 2. So I use the single lines for the separation. And here you're getting into the second playlist. And as you can see, this one has 5 videos. So yeah, you can set up with a very simple script. You can download your own videos, and you know, if you're running into some issues, go and fix it and just run the script again, and you should be good to go. And you can, of course, run this from a command line too. In the Miniconda script here, navigate to your virtual directory and then just, run the script from there using Python. So that's all I had for now. I hope you liked this video, and if you do like it, and maybe subscribe to my channel, and I try to push out some more videos a little more often. All right, this is all I had for now. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.